Hello, everyone. The first thing I want to tell you right away is that today's episode of Misadventures in Travel is not going to be humorous. This is actually a very serious topic I want to talk about today, and it's kind of every parent's worst nightmare. And so I'd like to share my experiences to maybe tell you, first of all, that this could happen to anyone, and also kind of how we handled it. Um, the topic today is getting separated from your children or one of your children when you're traveling. This happened to me twice, once with my oldest son and once with my daughter. And they were a long time apart from each other, but I'm going to tell you the story of each one so hopefully you can learn something from it. The first time was with my oldest son, Andrew, and at the time he was only 2, so he was really little. And my dad and Andrew and I were taking a very long road trip through Canada and the eastern United States. We left our home in Wisconsin. We drove across Wisconsin. There's actually a car ferry that you can take across Lake Michigan from Wisconsin to Michigan, and we took the ferry, and then we went to Niagara Falls. We went to Sesame Place in Pennsylvania, which was really fun for Andrew at that age. We went to New York City, and we came back, and I think we stopped and did some things on the way back too. We visited some friends along the way. So it was a long trip. I think it was like maybe 2 weeks long or something, and driving the whole way. We were at Niagara Falls, and we had bought our tickets to go on Maid of the Mist. Maid of the Mist is the boat ride that you take that takes you right up like into kind of under the falls, and you get all wet, so they give you these big blue poncho raincoat things and stuff. And did I say it was August? I think okay, it was August. So it was a busy tourist season. And we didn't get on the next immediate boat. We got tickets for like one that was like 2 or 3 hours later. So we had some time to kill before our Maid of the Mist boat tour. So we decided there was a shuttle bus, and we decided to take the shuttle bus down river. And I didn't know this before this. The river that Niagara Falls is part of, is that the St. Lawrence? I don't even know. It must be. Turns abruptly. It like veers to the right very sharply, right downstream of Niagara Falls. And there's these like jet boats, speedboat tours that you can take down on that part of the river. And there's also a gondola suspended above the river, crossing it, because where the river turns right there, there's this big whirlpool, and the gondola goes over that. So you can take this gondola over the whirlpool to see the whirlpool. And so we took the shuttle bus down to this gondola, and we were going to do that while we were waiting for our Maid of the Mist time. And we got off the bus, and there's kind of a big plaza area there, and there were restrooms and a gift shop over to this side. And then over here there was kind of a lookout, and I don't know if you've ever been to Niagara Falls. Maybe it's changed since then, but lots of little short stone walls, not very high at all, that you could actually, even sit on. And those are kind of all along the edge of the, looking over the river and the falls, which to me doesn't seem very safe, but anyway. And then there was kind of a deck, and in the corner of this deck was a little ticket booth where you bought your tickets for the gondola. And like straight ahead past the ticket booth, the deck kind of went out, so you could kind of stand there and you could look down over the river. And where this ticket booth was, there was a regular chest waist high railing, wooden railing along this deck thing. And where the ticket booth was, it didn't butt up right against the railing. There was like a 2-foot space between this ticket booth and the edge of the railing. And the purpose of that was so that the employees could go in and get inside the ticket booth from the back, because that was the only place there was a door. On the side that the customers or the tourists would see, it was just a window cut out where you went up and bought your tickets. And there was this little chain across both sides of the little space where the employees would walk back, so telling you shouldn't go back there. Okay, well, we get off the shuttle bus. My dad walks over to this ticket booth to buy the tickets for the gondola, and I'm holding Andrew's hand, And I walked straight ahead to the edge of this deck to this overlook thing. And right as we walked past the ticket booth, he jerked away from me, let go of my hand, ducked under that little chain, and ran around behind the ticket booth. And somehow my dad, it must not have been very big. My dad saw that this happened, and we quick looked at each other and had the same thought. I ducked under the chain one way, my dad ran around the other side and ducked under the chain that way, thinking we're going to catch him in the middle, right? No. We met each other on the back corner, and I remember my dad said, "Where is he?" He was really scared because somehow he had been so fast that he had gotten all the way around it before my dad got over there, and it was like seconds. And so we were frantic. I mean, he's only 2. There's people everywhere. Buses coming and going, cars coming and going, not to mention there's a gigantic, humongous whirlpool at the bottom of the steps and that you could fall in. And we were screaming his name, Andrew, Andrew, Andrew. And we were both sobbing. I mean, tears were just running down my face. We were looking everywhere for him. And I just remember faces of people like looking at us in confusion and like concern. And a couple people came up to us, came up to me at least. And I remember 2 things they asked. One lady said, "My husband is going to check the bathroom, like the men's room," which later I thought about that and I thought that's a really good idea because A, he could have gone in the bathroom, and B, if a predator, a child predator had taken him, that might have been someplace he would have taken him that was out of sight. So she sent her husband to look in the bathroom. I don't know why my dad didn't look in the bathroom, but he was running around screaming his name. And then another person came up to me and asked me, "What is he wearing?" And I just blanked. And I could not remember for the life of me what he had on. And that really stuck with me. This again was before digital phones or digital cameras. And I'll give you a tip about that in a minute, but that's important to know. I didn't have any way to record how he looked that day at this time. And I just had to remember. And I remember being so flustered when she asked me that, what was he wearing? Because I had no idea. And then the other thing I thought of later, which this is a little bit funny, he didn't answer us when we were yelling his name. Because on that particular month or whatever, he wasn't Andrew, he was Luke Skywalker. And the only thing he would answer to was Luke Skywalker because he was pretending to be Luke Skywalker. And I didn't think of that at the time, but that was like a big deal for him because he was all into Star Wars at that time. It felt like an eternity. It felt like a very long time that we were screaming his name and running all around this plaza and looking for him, and we could not find him. And I'm sure it was maybe 5 minutes. I don't know if that. I'm sure in reality it wasn't that long, but it felt like forever. And finally a lady screamed, "Here, he's here. I have him here." She was just a little ways off behind that little stone wall that I talked about. He had gone around it, and it was just this much taller than his head. And he was leaning back up against the wall, ha ha ha, funny, hiding from mommy and grandpa, and thought it was just a funny game. And this lady saw him, and she put her hand on his head and held him there until I ran over to him. And I picked him up, and I mean, tears were just streaming down my face. And I sat on a bench with him on my lap, and I just hugged him and hugged him. And this mom with her little girl, like, I don't know, she was like 5 or 6, was sitting next to us on the bench. And I heard her say to her little girl, "See, that's why you have to stay right next to me all the time." And I remember this, he put his little hands up on my face and wiped my tears away and said, "Don't cry, Mama." And it just gutted me. I was so traumatized by that. And that I thought I lost him. You know, we didn't know. Did he fall over the wall and fall down into the whirlpool? Did somebody kidnap him? We had no idea. And it was terrifying. And he must have been so struck by how upset my dad and I were when we found him that after that, we went to New York City. And, you'd think you'd be really nervous in New York City taking your little kid there with all these people. But he would not let us move when we were in New York City unless he was sitting in his stroller and buckled. And he was like, nope, I'm not buckled. Because I think he was so impressed upon him how important it was that he had to stay with us. So that was that story. And I don't know what I could have done different. I mean, tie him to me. There are people who use those kid leashes. That wasn't something he would typically do, the little jerking away from me and jumping under the chain. So it wasn't something I really could have anticipated. I mean, obviously there was something different Andrew could have done, but he was 2 years old. He didn't know any better. But the thing that stuck with me was the thing about the clothes. And so after that, for a long time, and even to this day, I have started dressing me and my kids alike when we go places that I know are going to be crowded and busy, whether it's Mall of America or Disney World or whatever. We have a color of the day. I don't make us wear matching t-shirts, but we wear today's green, guys, and we're all in green. I mean, if you look back at our pictures at Disneyland when Ben was 4 and Megan was 8, we're all in green, and then the next day we're all in red. And because that way I knew if that ever happened again and somebody said, what's he wearing? I could go, he's got a gray shirt on, So that helps. And I would say, even just this last time when we went to Valley Fair, Megan had on a solid white t-shirt. And I couldn't believe how much easier it was for me to spot her. She kept going on all these roller coasters by herself. And I could spot her right away because she was in that solid white t-shirt. And so if you put your kids in something distinctive and yourself so they can spot you or something that matches, that's a really good tip I found. Then once we got digital phones, and we did this the last time we went to Disney World, I took a picture of the 3 kids standing in front of our hotel room door every morning. So no matter what, I had a picture of what they looked like that day. Because by then, Andrew was 18 and they weren't really going to go with me letting him dress alike thing anymore. So, but that came up on this next story of when I lost Megan. Okay. So 2015, we went to Disney World. Me, Megan, Andrew, and Ben. Ben was, we were there for his birthday. He turned 7 while we were there. Megan was 10 and Andrew was 18 and about to graduate from high school. So I really kind of had 2 adults to help keep track of the kids. And this was just kind of goofy. And actually, I really have to give credit to Megan. She did exactly what she was supposed to do and exactly what I told her to do. It was me who was the dummy in this one. Okay, we were in the Main Street Bakery getting a treat. And while we were waiting in line for our stuff, the parade went by. And Megan was interested in she said, Mom, can I go watch the parade? Can I just go outside? And I said, sure. I said, because we were there's only 2 more people ahead of us in line or whatever. And I said, you know what, Megan, turn that way and just go sit on the next bench you see. Okay. 2 things about Disney World that bug me. 1, their toilet paper is awful. They have really thin, terrible toilet paper. And the second thing is, they really don't have enough benches. They really just want you to be standing all the time. Standing, watching parades, standing, watching, waiting in line. There's very few benches, relative to how many they could have. And, really the only time you ever sit down is when you're on a ride or for a show or when you're eating. And so that was something I really noticed the last 2 times I was at Disney. My feet were really sore. I mean, yeah, you're walking a lot, but you just don't have a lot of opportunity to sit down. So anyway, we didn't anticipate when I told her that the next closest bench was going to be so far away. Okay, well, first I'll tell you what she did, and then I'll tell you what I did. She walked out, and she's kind of watching the parade, and she went the way I told her to. Well, there were no benches. There was no benches along Main Street at all. There's not. She got to that little, it's like a little dead-end street that kind of juts off, and there's some cafe tables sitting there, and she went and sat on one of those. And when we came out of the bakery, because to her, that was the next seat she saw. And when we came out of the bakery a few minutes later and we went that way, we walked right past that. We weren't looking down there. I mean, the street was on this side of us. So it didn't even, we were looking along the street like looking for a bench. And so we walked right past her. So we got all the way back down to the end of Main Street where you come into Magic Kingdom, where, the vehicles turn around and the fire station is and guest services is and all that. And there's lots of benches there. And so I'm like, oh, I said to the boys, I said, oh, this must be where she is because this is the next bench. And so we walked right past her and we were going all around looking at all these benches like, where is she? And we couldn't find her. In the meantime, she had waited a few minutes, and we hadn't come. And so she walked wisely back to the bakery thinking, well, they must have just got stuck in line or whatever. She went back to the bakery and we're gone. So she did exactly what she was supposed to do. She went to a cast member and said, I've lost my mom. Can you please help me? And they took her to baby care services right away. And they had her the whole time. And she was sitting in the baby care center watching the brand new Tinkerbell movie that hadn't even been released to the public yet and enjoying herself in the air conditioning. So she was fine. I think they gave her a snack and she was just jolly old good. In the meantime, I parked the boys on a bench and I went walking around and I wasted a ridiculous amount of time walking around looking for her because I don't know, I had it in my head. I'm going to find her on some bench. And, I told the boys, stay here and just watch because I was kind of hoping that maybe she'd walk by and they would catch her. And here's where I'm a little irked with Disney. I did go into guest services and I asked the guest services person, I've lost my daughter. Can you please help me? Because everything you read says that if you lose your kid at Disney World, they already have them, which they did, and they are going to be able to tell you where they are. Well, I don't know if I just got a bad guest services rep or if she was just busy or what, but she was just like, oh, sorry to hear that. And she didn't do anything to help me. And I'm thinking now she could have radioed or something and found out where she was. And she was just no help at all. And that kind of made me upset, because then I started to get really nervous because I'm like, well, this whole thing, you're supposed to be able to ask a cast member and they tell you where she is. If that doesn't work, I'm in trouble. And so I went back and got the boys. I said, let's walk back to the bakery again. So we walked back up to the bakery. And thankfully, standing right outside the bakery was a security guard. And so I went up to him and I said, I can't find my daughter. Can you please help me? And it had been a while. It was probably 20, 30 minutes by now. And he immediately asked me, what is she wearing? And I pulled up the picture that I took that morning on my phone. And I said, here she is. And he got on his radio immediately and he said, follow me, ma'am. And we took about 3 steps and he already knew where she was. So I felt kind of dumb because I should have just done that in the first place. If I had just looked for a security guy, which there's plenty, if I had looked for one and went to him first, I would have saved myself that whole time. So he walked us over to the baby care center, which is right there by Crystal Palace. And she was in there, fine as can be. She wasn't nervous or worried at all. She knew we'd find her eventually. And she was safe. And then the baby care center at Magic Kingdom is staffed by real British nannies. So that's kind of cool. And they were very helpful. And they asked the kids, do you know your mom's cell phone number? Because I did have my cell phone. And they didn't know it. They didn't have it memorized. And so they wrote my cell phone number in Sharpie on the back of one of those, like first visit or birthday buttons. Ben actually already had a birthday button. He was wearing it. And so they just took his birthday button off and wrote my cell number on the back and stuck it back on him. Good idea. That was simple. And so that's a tip I would say too, is, well, number one, if you lose your kid at Disney World, go to the security guard because they know where they are. And secondly, make sure your cell phone number is physically on your child somewhere. And I have done that in the past, and I don't know why I didn't think to do that there. I don't know if I was thinking they were old enough that they should have known it, but I've done that in the past. I've put it on a lanyard. I've put it on a piece of paper and pinned it inside their pocket. Something like that. You've seen like ads where they You put like the glue stuff or whatever, you write it right on their arm and it's on there. So as long as you have it on their person somewhere where they're not going to lose it, that's a good idea. And just, tell the child, if you lose mommy, um, show this. And the other thing you want to make sure that they know wherever you go, and this is anywhere, make sure they know who is a good person to go to for help. Because the whole thing with stranger danger really kind of has done a disservice to kids, because the truth of the matter is you're going to talk to strangers your entire life. That's just being friendly. I mean, it would be rude never to talk to anyone. How could you live your life? You got to talk to the bank teller. You got to talk to the bus driver. You got to talk to the store clerk. You're talking to people you don't know every day. And if you never talk to anyone you'd never meet anyone. So you'd never make any friends. You have to talk to people you don't know. So you can't just say don't talk to anyone you don't know, because that's not realistic. But the safe people that I always told my kids was a person in uniform, at the place where we are. A police officer, a security guard at Disney, or even at stores like at Target. I'm like, look, they have a name tag. They work here. They will help you. So, if they have a name tag on, that's somebody that they can usually get help from. And the other one I always say is a mom with kids. If you see a woman with children, she's going to help you. Because, I can't tell you how many times I've been out with my own kids where I have found a child alone and done something, either held them there, asked, where's your mommy, or something. A mom with kids is going to be sympathetic to a child that's lost. So that's what I tell my kids. And then the other thing, I would say my last tip about this was being separated from your children. Well, in addition to try to remain calm, because panicking is not going to help you, is, oh, I just lost it. Phone number, clothes, picture, who to talk to for help. Oh, shoot. There's another thing I was going to say. I can't remember. I'm sorry. Oh, bummer. It was a good tip, too. Well, this is another one. This isn't what I was thinking of, but one thing is, like, if you're at a place like that, to tell them, don't leave the park or don't leave the store. I don't know why kids think, oh, I'll go look for mom in the parking lot or whatever. I've heard of that happening. Tell them, I will not leave this place without you. So you don't go out the door, because if they're contained inside that thing, wherever that place is that you are, that obviously limits it down. What was the other thing I was going to say? It was really important too. Who to talk to. Oh, I know what it was. Don't say to your kids, stay where I can see you. They don't know what you can see. Yeah, you want to be able to see them, but they don't have your eyeballs in their head. Your eyeballs in their head. And so what I always said to my kids, I said to them, stay where you can see me. Because as long as they keep me in their line of vision, I can see them too. It's kind of like it goes to theater. If you're peeking out behind the curtain, if you can see the audience can see you. It's the same concept. If the kid can see me, I know I can see the kid. So, for sure, because 99% of the time they're smaller than I am. So if I'm bigger and higher than them, if they can see me, for sure I can probably see them. And that's another tip too. This is especially good, like if you're in a store, remember that they're littler than you. When I have lost my kids a couple times, for a minute or something in a store, first thing I do, drop to the floor and look at the feet, because they're inside a rack of clothes or something. And you can find those little feet way quicker than you can find the rest of them hiding in the racks. So that would be another tip. So I am happy to say those are the only 2 times I got separated from my kids. I lost Ben at home once in our neighborhood, but I haven't lost him traveling. It is definitely scary to lose your kid traveling. I can't imagine these, the worst case scenarios that are worse than those. You know, I mean, obviously I found my kids within minutes, and that isn't always the case. So I hope that these tips will be helpful to you and just things to keep in mind when you do go on vacation with your family. So thanks for joining me for this video, guys, and I really appreciate if you subscribe to my channel. I have several more misadventures in travel that should be a little lighter than this topic coming up, and I hope you'll join me for those. Have a good day.